Welcome to the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. As always, I'm your host, H.D. Campbell. We had a wonderful October. Great interviews. We spoke to some great people. We learned a lot of great things. Now, November, we are not slowing down. It's going to be an explosive month, like I said in my promo. We have a bunch of heavy hitters this month, best-selling authors, award-winning authors, and it is just going to be wonderful. We have later this month, we're going to have Sylvia Hubbard, Navi Robbins, Dominique Watson, Nicole Bradley. Today we're going to have Michelle Davis-Newell. I mean, it is going to be an explosive month, and you're going to learn from every last one of them about the game of writing, editing, producing books, everything. You're going to learn a lot from these greats here this month. Now, say that. I learned, I'm not going to say I'm always the last to know, but learned that NaNoWriMo is no more. There's no more. So I'm exhibiting my own challenge, and I see a lot of other people exhibiting their own challenges. Let's start by challenging ourselves to write a great book this month, or at least start the makings of a great book. That's what I'm going to do starting today. Um, I have a few editing jobs I have to do on clients' work, but in between, I'm going to start a project, and I'll keep you informed on that project throughout the month. Also, I had the pleasure of interviewing a wonderful author this morning, a good Christian author named Denise, Denise Walker, and she is so wonderful. And I had the chance to speak to her on so many different levels about writing, being a Christian author, and everything. And you'll be able to see her on a December episode of the Author's Corner. Also, she has a few events coming up, and you'll see that in the community calendar segment. But again, today we're going to be interviewing Michelle Davis-Newell, and she'll be talking about her newest books today. We're going to be talking about writing. We're going to be talking about what it takes to be a writer, things that might stop us from writing. We talked about a whole lot of things today. So when we come back, we're going to have a chat with Michelle Davis-Newell. Thank you. Welcome back to the Author's Corner. There was one thing I forgot to say in the cold open earlier is the fact that all of these authors this month that I'm interviewing, I've known for years. They have brought you some of the best books. They have brought you a lot of the best entertainment, everything, and they still continue to bring it. So, in all the years of knowing them, I'm happy to bring them to you so they can talk about their years of experience as well. Again, Michelle Newell is no exception. I mean, she has new books out, and she's going to talk about her rise to that here. But I'll be quiet. Here. Guys, I want to start with the beginning before we get into your books. What got you into writing in the first place?
Actually, as a little girl, I used to love to read my mother's books. She had a Harlequin romance subscription and the Harlequin mystery subscriptions. And this was like in the 70s. And I used to love to read those books. And it kind of sparked my creativity. So I started writing little stories as a little girl. And that spark just never left. It's something that I've always done and I've always wanted to do. And then finally, when even as a teenager, I used to write stories and pass them around on a little, notebook paper. But then I started taking it really seriously, probably in 2000, when they started coming out with when I started learning about self-publishing. Took it a little bit seriously. Went on a hiatus for a long time. But then over the last couple of years, I've really gotten back into it. So,
Mossy. So, how do we get from here to Ruby Slippers?
well, actually, the first time I released Ruby Slippers was in 2013. And then I decided to do a re-release this year. But what prompted me to write that was I just started jotting down on pieces of paper at home one day some of the experiences that I went through in my life. And then I remember just creating a folder and then just typing, on in various Word docs, just some of my experiences, some of my thoughts as they were coming to me. I had no idea what I was going to do with that, but something told me you're gonna use this, you're gonna use this. So eventually I put it together and decided to put it together as a book, as a memoir. And I couldn't think of a title. And then all of a sudden that popped up in my head because my mother used to always tell me fairy tales as a little girl. She used to always recite fairy tales to me. And so that even though Ruby Slippers technically deals with the Wizard of Oz, I still felt that it was an appropriate title to go with this memoir. But yeah, it was just all of those lived experiences that I had. I wanted to share them. And so I just started jotting them down, and then here we are.
I love that. I love that. As a writer and author, we all have different journeys. Before we talk about the background of Evandale, why don't we talk about what got you into writing fiction?
So it's always been a desire to write fiction. Now, as I said, as a little girl, I used to read romance novels and then even mysteries. And so even when I started writing as a little girl, it always had some kind of romance to it. But then fiction became a passion of mine, and not just fiction, specifically women's fiction, because I've always had this desire to tell women's stories, in particular Black women's stories, but just tell women's story and to highlight just who we are, the power, the strength that we have to overcome. And so I've always wanted to tell those stories. And so fiction just felt like that's the genre that was meant for me to do that in.
I love that. As I'm looking behind, I'm looking at you, but I'm also looking behind you because I love your bag and I love the book. I'm going to get into the book here in just a second, but I love that's your cover art, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So why don't we just get right into it because I'm actually about to order it because I want to do a review on it here soon.
Okay.
Tell
Okay.
me about Bad Ladies of Dividend.
So Bag Ladies of Evandale was released in 2024 in September, but I actually started writing that book probably before I did Ruby Slippers. Like that was another story that I just started writing like almost 2 decades ago. And what happened was one day I had a meeting with some of my coworkers who were also my good friends. And we would just sit down and you know how I don't know, women just have this thing where we get together and we gossip and we talk about our relationships and we talk about our problems, right? And I brought my girlfriends together and I was like, listen, we're going to come together and we're going to dish and we're going to talk about all that stuff that we normally just complain to each other about. But we're going to have some solutions. We're not just going to come and gossip and trash the men in our lives. We're going to actually do some deep diving, right? And so we did it once and we had fruit and all that other good stuff. And it dawned on me, I was like, you know, this is something that women need to do. Women, we need to hype each other up, but we also need to find a way to hold ourselves accountable, ourselves and each other. And so the premise of the Bag Ladies was already there. Like I said, I had already started writing this story. And what really prompted that was Erica Badu's song, Bag Ladies. And I love that song. Yeah, because I had written a poem about bag ladies, and I'm like, we carry so much baggage in our lives. And so oh my God, I started that book. I stopped, I started, I stopped. But I had actually finished it back in 20, I want to say 2017, and it was getting edited. And then unfortunately, my brother was murdered, and that just kind of took my thunder. Yeah. And I put that book, I put all writing to the side, and I couldn't even focus on writing. And I just kind of lost that drive for writing. And then last year, my husband and I were working on this project because all of a sudden I just kind of got this little thrill for writing again. And he was like, he said, you know what, baby, you need to finish that book. The book is actually finished. You need to just get it out there, get the book out there. And so that's what we did. We came together, put together a publishing company, went through the whole process, and voila, that's how it got released.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Again, sorry about your brother. You know,
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
So, so I want to get into right now your style.
Hmm.
What is your style? What is your writing style? How do get focused
Hmm.
to start a project?
You know what? That's been an evolving process for me. Because at one point it was just to sit there and just write it out. And one of the things that frustrates my partner, aka my husband, about my style is that I don't just write and get the story out and then come back and do edits and rewrites. I'm literally editing as I write, so it takes me forever sometimes. And I told him I can't. I try, but I just can't do it. So for me, it really is a matter of just the ideas are in my head. I think them through. And then eventually I start putting them on paper. And now I've gotten to the point where one of the things I've evolved to do is to outline my books now. Because technically I didn't do that. I wouldn't necessarily do an outline, but I do that now. And that helps to streamline my thought process. So it's easier for me to get a book out now. Like I just finished a novella and it took me less than 2 weeks to get the first draft done because I followed my new outline process.
Okay, because I'm just gonna put this out there. You're among one of my favorite authors. But I
Oh,
just
thank
found out
you.
the other day that another favorite author of mine is a pantser.
Oh,
So, well, so,
wow.
so, so, so
Yeah,
I guess I can say you're a reform pantser, I guess.
I'm a reform and because at first I'm telling you that's what I did. It was like whatever the thoughts were, I put it on paper, I put it on notebook paper, I put whatever I could find. But I'm getting a little bit better. So,
Because I, I do a little bit of both. I'm a pantser, but I
yeah.
plan. But the more I get into it, the
Yeah.
plans go out the window. So
Right.
the pantser phase begins.
That's
Is
right.
that how it goes with you
Eventually,
sometimes? Huh?
Eventually the book tells the characters tell the story. No matter what your plan for them is, it's like, no, honey, that's not what I want to do. I want to do something different. So, you got to listen to your characters.
I need a favor of you. I need to ask you a huge favor. I need to know
Yeah.
if I'm crazy or not.
Okay.
Um, when I'm writing
Hmm.
and my characters will tell me if they're uncomfortable in a scene or a situation.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and if you continue on that path, the book isn't going to go well.
It's
So, do you
not
feel the
gonna
way?
feel, it's not. I just had that situation with the novella. There was a particular scene that I was not comfortable with, but for some reason I was trying to force that on my character, and it just did not feel right until I went in there and I revised it and I changed it, and it was like, okay, we're good. So yeah.
So, good. So, I'm not the only one that argues with my
No,
characters and has to appease my characters. Good, good.
no, no.
You
You
know,
are
failure
not.
is hard.
Yes, it is. That's right. That's right.
So, my next question to you is, so as far as you say you have a publishing company, tell me a little bit more about your publishing company.
So, Scribe Right Publishing LLC, we formed it last year because my focus is to own the rights to any of my works. And so, right now, anything that I publish, I brought Ruby Slippers under that LLC as well. Anything that I publish will go under this publishing company. Matter of fact, the very first book that I ever wrote, which is, oh gosh, back in I think 2000. I'm going to revise that and bring that under this company because the goal is for me to own all of my original works. And eventually, there's a goal to start publishing other indie authors. I love this whole indie space. And I remember back in the day, the goal was to get with the mainstream publisher. The goal was to get with the traditional publisher. And even back then, I had this rebellious spirit. I was like, I'm not about to be querying 50 million folks to, especially when there are resources to do this ourselves, because I write for the love of writing. And so Scribe Right Publishing LLC was formed last year just so that I could make sure that all of my works go up under my own imprint. And again, we intend to start publishing other indie folks at some point. But first, I gotta get through all of the testing and all those other good things to make sure that I'm really good at what I do before I start trying to tackle other folks' creative works.
I understand that. My next question for you is, I've seen your TikToks, I've seen your videos. You
Mhm.
do a lot of wisdom for new writers, people struggling with writing. What got that started?
Well, I started doing TikToks a few years ago. I had heard about TikTok. I created a page for TikTok, but I really didn't know much about it. And then one day I happened to go on and I was watching videos and I just fell in love with it. And then it dawned on me, this is another platform that you can use to really connect with people. Facebook to me just reminds me of MySpace to a
Yes,
certain
yes,
extent. Yeah, it just
it
started.
turned into MySpace.
Yeah, it feels like it just like I was losing that connection that I liked to have with people. But then TikTok gave me the ability to do videos. And I feel like I come alive when I do videos versus just crafting out posts. And so, and I figured if I'm going to do this, yeah, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to act silly because that's who I am. But then I'm also going to use it to encourage and motivate people when I can.
Yeah, I love that. See, it's a matter of, and I like I said, I was talking to another author about this yesterday. We all can write good books, but if we can help new authors, if we can help people get to where we are, or at least get somewhere.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, that half the
Yeah.
battle's won.
And being honest with people because everybody, one of my biggest mantras is everybody has a story to tell because I do believe everyone whether it's fictional, nonfiction, whatever it is, everyone has that. But writing is not easy. And publishing is not easy. And people see the end result and they just assume you sat down, wrote some stuff, and then you published it. Boom. Oh no. There's some work that goes into this, right? And so it's really giving people that 30,000-foot view of what writing and publishing is about. And I have not done a lot of that, but I intend to. I started a YouTube channel. And so I intend to use that YouTube channel to do more of that, really teaching people about the craft of writing and publishing.
Yeah. Stay tuned for part 2 of the interview, where we're going to learn more about Michelle Davis-Newell. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. Before we get to part 2 of our interview, I want to explain that we do have 2 tickets to give away to comedian Ronnie J's comedy show, the Friendsgiving comedy show, which is a special that she's doing this Thanksgiving. And I do have 2 tickets to give away. For more details on the show, though, however, it's going to be hosted by comedian Shantae Love, starring Ronnie J. It'll be at 30314 Smoke Shop, and that's going to be on 4423 South Kings Highway Boulevard. It's going to be on November 26th. Doors open at 7:30. Showtime is at 8:30. And featuring other great funny comedians. It's going to be so funny, you don't want to miss it. And like I say, I do have 2 tickets to give away. I'll give the details for that on Monday. Now, without further ado, this is Michelle Davis-Newell, part 2. Now, tell me a little bit about your website.
Well, the website is it's pretty minimalist right now, and it just highlights, my works as they come out, and I need to go in there and update it. I don't do a lot of posting through the website, but it is where people can find me, find, my latest books, and order if they want to get autographed copies from me. They can go onto that website to order any of my books.
Awesome, awesome. Now, besides social media and your website, how can we get to know you as an author? How can we buy your books? What can we,
Mhm.
how can we, get an autograph, things like that? How can we get
Yeah.
to know you?
So if anyone wants an autographed copy from me, they can get it on the website, of course. And in terms of, buying the book that's on the website, they can go to Amazon, any online platform. I'm on all of them. Getting to know me, basically, a lot of that is going to come through social media because I am a social media hog at times. I do love being on social media. I have had situations where folks who live close to me have purchased the book, they wanted it autographed, and I would meet them to, autograph the book for them. So, I like doing that too. And I'm starting to get out a little bit more and do some of these book fests. Come next month, I will be in Detroit at the ICU Literary Fest. So, starting to get out a little bit more and, connect with folks more.
Awesome. Actually, you just asked my next question if we had any events coming up. So,
Yeah.
do you have any future projects coming up?
Yes. Oh my God. So my next book, which is it's contemporary women's fiction. No, it's women's fiction, contemporary romance, and it's called In Search of Autumn. And it's in the hands of beta readers now, and it will be released in December of this year, excuse me. And while that's happening, I just did the little novella. I kind of dabbled a little bit in spicy romance. Because I've always wanted to do that. So this novella will be out. I'm looking to do it sometime this fall. Um, so yeah, it's done. I'm just, going through the process of getting it ready for publication as well. So two projects, and then next year I have two other projects that I'll be working on.
Okay. What is your
Yeah.
biggest stumble block as an author or a writer?
Honestly, it had been focusing on a full-time job and then trying to be a writer. Um, I I struggled with both because whenever I work, I'm 100% into my job. And my job is I work in corporate, so my job is it's like my brain is dead by the end of the day. But I was able to take some time off work. And as a part of that time, I focused on my writing. And so I've gotten myself back into a rhythm now. And put it like this, if this was my full-time thing, writing, I would be doing it 7 days a week, a minimum of 10 hours a day. Literally. My husband has had to put me in writing timeout because I will write all day. So now I'm just getting back to work this week, actually. And so now it's a matter of segmenting my time so that I can carve out that time when I'm done working. I can shut my brain down from the corporate world and then focus on my writing because now I have a schedule, right? The one thing that we're doing with this publishing company and with this writing venture is we're treating it like a business because that's what it is. And so so I shut my brain down from working the 9 to 5, and then I start focusing on writing. So at this point, I don't have any barriers now, but the barriers I had back then was working full time and trying to write.
Okay. So to put you on the spot just for a second.
Okay.
And we hate talking about ourselves, but you have
Yeah.
won a few awards. Now let's talk about
Yeah.
those awards that you have won.
Well, it was what is the Book Fest Award. And actually the Book Fest Award is a seasonal. They have it every season. And I entered two books. I entered The Bag Ladies of Ebondale and I entered Ruby Slippers, and they both won. Bag Ladies of Ebondale came in, it was first place for women's fiction. And then Ruby Slippers was second place for nonfiction, memoir, personal memoir. And that was exciting. I very seldom enter into any of the awards because, to your point, I don't always like talking about myself, but I realized that in order for me to expand my audience and get myself out there more, I would have to start doing things like that. So I hope to, enter into more of these kinds of programs and receive these kinds of accolades.
That's what you know, brother. So my next question for you is any sequels to Bag Ladies? Or I know you got
Yes.
tricky, but I'm going to
Yeah,
take a
it's
couple.
it's a series. And so here's the thing about the Bag Ladies of Ebondale. Ebondale is essentially a community. It's really named, it's inspired by the community that I grew up in. And so when you think about Ebondale, it's almost a character in itself. And so the next book in this is called the Ebondale series. The next book in this series is Autumn, is In Search of Autumn. So that's book two in the series. Book three will come out next year. So yeah, and we're looking at doing 5 books in total for the series. So yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm hearing from a lot of my folks on Facebook who read the book. They're like, "Is there going to be a part two?" Yes, the second book is coming out December of this year.
I'm going to kind of put you on the spot again. I want to kind of explain how long that you've been an author.
Mm,
You've actually been in the game for over 25 years.
yeah, yeah,
Because see, I know I published my first book in '99, and we a lot of us came out around the same time. So
yes, yes, we did. Yes, we
so
did. We did.
so and not to age ourselves, but this is more of if you have longevity in the game and don't give up,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
result.
That's right. That's right. I listen, when we came out, like I said, I think self-publishing was really the big thing, and it gave people, indie folks an opportunity to get their works out without having to beg and, for someone to look at their work. And I would say the majority of us probably wouldn't even have our works out if we had to sit back and wait for this publishing industry to recognize us as authors. So yeah,
Exactly, because this publishing industry isn't a good one unless personally, unless you self-publish, it's really
yeah,
not too
yeah,
giving, so to speak.
that's
So,
right. That's right.
so the next question is, and this is one that I've always wanted to ask: who is your favorite author?
Terry McMillan, hands down. And matter of fact, I think that's more of my writing style. I love the way she tells stories. It's like these characters, right? These characters are folks that it's like you feel like you connect with them. And so she's one of my favorite. But you know who else was an inspiration to me was J. California Cooper. I used to read a lot of her books, and I
Yeah,
loved her writing style. Yeah. So I would say those two are probably the biggest ones that I admire.
I love that. I love that. So as we wrap up here, I want to always give my authors the final word.
Mm.
Um, you give shout out, you give wisdom, whatever you want to say. The floor is yours.
I would say, you know what, for folks who have a desire to write and not just write, but to actually publish, don't give up. And I think you mentioned this earlier. Don't give up because no matter how old you are, if this is something that you desire to do, do it. And if you do it one time, that's fine. At least you did it. Figure out if this is a path that you want to take. And if it is, then follow it through. And if you do it right. There are expenses to it, of course, like anything, like any kind of business, but whatever you do, treat it like a business. Um, and again, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't even matter how young you are. Like I said, I started writing when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I sent a handwritten book to Harlequin. I was like, hey, do something with this. And they were like, no, but I did. I sent it.
Anyway,
So
yep.
if it's something that you want to do, by all means, do it.
It was a wonderful interview. I'm glad I'm not the only pantser in this world. Now, don't get me wrong, I do outline my books, but sometimes my characters may end up taking me in a direction I'm not used to. But if I don't go in that direction, the book might not do right. So sometimes the best laid plans, I'm not going to get into all that. I'm glad you enjoyed the interview with Michelle Davis-Newell. Next week, we'll be interviewing Sylvia Hubbard, where we'll get more into the industry, her books, and we'll be talking about more on writing. When we come back, we'll be doing AC's 2 cents, but first, here's our community calendar. Welcome to AC's 2 cents segment, where I want to talk about a little bit of confidence today. Have you ever felt bad about yourself, and also do you ever feel as if you do a lot, but you don't see a lot of the rewards, or you don't see a lot of progress, even though you've made a lot of progress? If you ever get down on yourself, try Googling yourself. I did that today when I was feeling kind of low with everything I was doing. I didn't think I was really that far, and I sometimes get that way. But when I Googled myself, and I saw H.D. Campbell, seven books, and da da da, that really, I don't know why something that simple boosted my confidence. Um, I guess the fact that I have been in this business for 30 years and been able to write great stories and continue to write stories and continue to do this show and things like that, it makes me feel good. And so I shared it on Facebook and I got a lot of great feedback. I got a lot of great compliments. It really does feel good. So if you're ever doubting yourself, Google yourself. You might be surprised. Next week, we're going to get into a little bit of vocabulary. I want to talk about some tenses and things like that for my 2 cent segment. And over the next few months, I'm going to point over the next few weeks. However, we're going into better writing tips for the new year. So we're going to start doing that. So that's it for the Office Corner. Thank you for another week. See you next Monday. Peace. Let your writing fuel your spirit, and God bless you. See you soon.